We are going to take a photograph, we're going to abstract it using Photoshop and then make it grayscale. First thing you need to do is open Photoshop, and I've already copied or imported an image of Nick Cave. Look at his amazing face. I'm working on this layer here, not the background. I'm selecting this layer. We'll grayscale it later, but first let's caricature his face. Let's exaggerate it and emphasize the features. And to do that, we're going to use the Liquify tool, and you'll find that in the filter menu. Down to Liquify, and that's going to open in a new window for us. Here it is, and of course we can maximize the window if we need to. Well, at the moment we've got a basic set of tools, and you can experiment with these. But the good thing about the updated version of Photoshop, it has facial recognition software. And if you click on here, the face tool, you should be able to recognize, or it should be able to recognize the features for you. And if we hover over, we can see Nick Cave's right eye, and his left eye, his nose, his mouth, and the shape of his head. Now I'm in charge of what I do to his face. I hope he doesn't mind, and I'm going to exaggerate it to make him more like Nick Cave. Nick Cave is often considered quite gaunt. So I'm going to do a few things. First of all, I'm going to play around with the eyes. Now I can do this over here manually, or I can use the sliders over here on the right. Manually, of course, I'm just going to make his eyes smaller. I'm going to decrease the size of them, play around with the shape of them. And if I do this, I feel that it would be more like him, more similar to his personality. Now once I've done that, of course, I can do more things. Not just with the facial recognition tool, the face tool. I can use these tools up here. We have a forward warp tool, we'll look at it in a minute, but we also have a pucker and a bloat tool. Well, you can imagine what they do. I'm going to use the pucker tool. I can change the size up here if I need to. And I'm going to look at Nick Cave's eyes, and I'm going to pucker them, make them smaller. Next, back to the face tool. I want to shift his nose up, and I'm going to drag it up and pull it in. I want to make it smaller and higher. Now that's not enough for me, so I'm going to go back over here, and this time I'm going to use the forward warp tool. I've already selected the size I want, bigger or smaller, and I can select this area here, and I can drag and lift, and I can do a lot more with his nose as well. I can probably even, if I drag it a bit further up, go to the pucker tool and make it a little bit smaller. I can even make the circle I'm using, the selection area, a bit smaller, and drag it down a little bit, but not any further. Now his nose is higher. Back to the face tool and onto the mouth. I think a small puckered mouth makes more sense for Nick Cave. And the facial tool. I can narrow his face and lengthen it and create something which is a caricature of Nick Cave. There are more things I can do, of course. I can twist with the clockwise tool. I can perhaps just cast his eye around a little bit. I can bloat areas if I want to. Maybe I can use the forward tool here and start dragging his hair out to the side. If I click on the side here, I can pull it out or drag it in. And I can crop that bit later and maybe drag it out here. Maybe I can pull that down along with his ears as well, I think. And then of course I can probably drag his shoulders in and make them narrower and steeper. I'm not worried about what I've got left on the side. I can get rid of that a little bit later. There's lots you can do. Forward warp. There is a reconstruct tool for when things go wrong, and again you can change the size and reconstruct. There's called the smooth tool, and of course clockwise, twirl, pucker, bloat. We have something called pushing left, freezing mask, thaw mask, we don't use those, and of course the face tool of course as well. And there's various hand tools. Now once you've got this, it's not saved, you've got to click OK. And there we have him. A couple of things I want to do now. I want to make him grayscale. First of all, I'm just going to crop using the marquee selection tool on my left. I'm going to capture everything in his face, and I'm going to go to image, and I'm going to crop. And I want to change the image again. This time I want to get rid of the color. Lots of ways of doing it. Image adjustments. I can choose hue and saturation. I can go to black and white if I want. Hue and saturation means I can just completely desaturate the color. But I also want to emphasize the light and dark, image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. And this way I can create a stronger contrast. And now I have my image. The last thing I need to do, save this as a JPEG file. I'm not saving as such, but I am exporting the image. Export, not as a PNG. I'm going to choose what I'm going to export as. I want the image to be JPEG. Once this is settled, I'll be able to select JPEG here. And I want the quality to be the highest I can get it, and I'll click export. That's going to give me a place to save it. I'm going to take it straight to my downloads. I'm going to call it Cave Face, and I'll save it there. And now I have a JPEG to work with, similar to what I did with Simon Pegg's face. Of course, you're doing a self-portrait. It has to be a portrait of you.